I used to go to the gym super hyped, which is a good thing, but I would push all my sets to failure, every single one of them. And so I would be getting diminishing returns, not knowing why. Hey bro, I'm Orpheus, a 15-year-old calisthenics athlete. I can do 60 kilo dips, 40 kilo pull-ups, learned the handstand push-up in 3 days, and clean muscle-ups. Instant gratification is giving up the long-term big reward for the short-term small reward. And yes, working out, you do delay the gratification if you're doing it right. But if you're doing it wrong, you're actually getting the instant gratification by working out. You're doing things like going to the gym and not pushing hard just to tick off yeah, I went to the gym today. Or you are pushing super hard like I was, doing every set to failure and feeling like you're overachieving. Meanwhile, you're actually diving straight into a plateau. How can you fix this? You need to figure out your goal. You need to figure out why you're training. Because if you're training for a different reason than what your goal is, if you're training towards bodybuilding, if you want to train calisthenics, obviously you won't be motivated because you're aiming for a whole different thing. So figure out your goals and list them down on a paper super clearly. So you know by, let's say, end of 2025, I want to be able to do a 100 kilo bench press. And so you have it very, very clear. You also need to figure out, are you training for calisthenic skills? Are you training for calisthenic strength? Are you training for powerlifting, bodybuilding? All these different things, you have different ways to train towards them. You already know this. But you need to figure out really what you want to do. Everyone knows what you have to do for bodybuilding. You have to train 2 to 3 times a week, push to failure, whatever. But for strength, it's different. And not many people know about this. The huge factor that not many people know about is periodizing your training. So periodization, put simply, is splitting your goal into sub goals. And so essentially, let's say you want to reach a 100 kilo bench press or maybe a 50 kilo dip. What you're going to do first, you're going to build the muscle because muscle moves weight, right? Then you're going to adapt it to strength. Then you're going to adapt it to your central nervous system to fire hard so you can actually get that 1 rep max. And then you're gonna have a deload, and then you're actually gonna test your 1 rep max. How would you do this? You would do, let's say your first period, your first 1 to 3 weeks, you would do stuff 4 by 8, leaving 2 reps in the tank. And then you would add in support exercises, maybe 2 support exercises. So supports are just biasing towards your weakness. So that could be let's say ring dips if you have bad stability. That could be super deep dips if you're bad at the bottom part. That could be tricep extensions if you know your triceps are weak, whatever problem you have. And then you would have some isolations maybe in which you just do maybe first stability, maybe side delts for dips, stuff like that. Then for your second week, you would just train lower reps. So the first week we did high volume, low intensity. Then for the second week, we would do medium volume, medium intensity. So stuff 3 by 5, 3 by 6, and training 1 rep in reserve roughly, and then having a back off set to accumulate volume. So you had your top sets, right, which is your 3 by 5, let's say on dips. If you want to learn to periodize your training, there'll be a video somewhere up there. Next is the 80-20 rule. This rule says that you get 80% of the results from 20% of the work. And this rule is crazy. I mean, it's not only in working out, but it's crazy because most people already know what they have to do and they're over optimizing their training. They're doing it to the point where they're losing sleep, wasting hours in the gym, and just having less fun than they would have. You've probably watched way too many fitness videos on how to work out, even though you know every single detail. And this is obviously wasting time, and you know this. But to kind of get rid of this, you have to do slightly less than what you think you should be doing. This was my problem, right? I was pushing to failure on every single set of my workouts, and I was doing high volume, high intensity. I was doing 10 to 20 sets per workout, and also pushing each one of them to failure. So I was obviously getting diminishing returns. And so you're gonna get the same thing. So do slightly less than what you think you should be doing, especially if you have this problem I'm talking about, this pushing to failure problem, because you're going head first into a plateau right now. Because your body right now doesn't have any time to recover. You're giving it maybe 2 rest days max per week, and meanwhile you're pushing every single set to failure, pushing every single thing super hard. When do you expect it to recover? and your body accumulates fatigue. So your progress, right, it starts like normal, but then it slowly goes down. And if you continue doing that, you're gonna go into a plateau. This is kind of like common knowledge that isn't so common right now, that everyone keeps on pushing and they think the best way to get out of a plateau is just to push harder, and so they keep on going like lower. But what you need to do is like vary your training so that you're able to stay in this like peak, where you have this like you get rid of that fatigue, like you do a bit more, and then take a deload and then go back again, do it again, right? Instead of going all the way down and like going super low into your like massive plateau. Here are the action steps to take right now. Firstly, are setting goals for this year and for this month. So getting closer to these goals is the only thing that matters. Watching more YouTube videos won't get you closer to these goals. And so if you have these goals like out clearly, and you're not focusing that much on training, like of course you're focusing during your training, you're focusing on like making a good program. But I mean, once you have all of that set up, you don't like overanalyze every single thing and watch 20 million YouTube videos, because those YouTube videos will not get you closer to your goal. And if you do have your goal clearly stated, you will understand, obviously, that those videos aren't getting you anywhere closer. So set up your program, your diet, all of these different things before the race starts, before you like go super serious on your training. Figure it out first, and this you've probably already done, right? If you already know your goals, that is. And then during the race, just sprint, don't like overthink it, just like, because you already have that, that backup and info that you've already figured out. Just brainlessly sprint towards your goal as long as you've figured out already your plan, and which you already know. But if you don't have a plan yet and don't understand these complicated like periodization and difficult terms I've said, I have my free community that is Weightisthenics, the link below. I break down all of these difficult things into easy courses, and there's also a community to help you out. Sprinting towards your goal isn't about training ultra hard each session. It's about the consistency, right? Imagine you're sprinting, right? If you're taking like one huge stride, right? Like, and you're taking one stride and then one other massive stride and then another massive one. Like, soon you're gonna be out of air. But it's more about consistency and not being at like a full out like sprint, maybe being in like a jog to a sprint pace, but making sure you're actually taking each step. And yes, you can do all of this without wasting hours on this like educational content that you're watching from like Jeff Nippard or whatever. Yes, Jeff Nippard's a cool guy, but bro, you already know what he's gonna say in his videos. Why do you keep on watching the next one again and again? And the next action step will actually make the first one count, because you just did the first one, but now you have this free time. You have no idea what to do with it. And so in like 1 week where your like willpower will like, plummet down, you will like eventually go back to those bad habits. So make sure you take this step. This is replace your scrolling or like whatever addiction time you had with reading, meditation, self-improvement. Like, this is like a big term, but every single thing that goes on. Also, meeting people you genuinely enjoy, like people you don't have a filter around. If you don't have a filter around someone, that means you like actually trust them as a friend. That's someone who you're actually gonna talk with like deep topics about. Someone you are not gonna kind of waste, because you know that most of your friends, you like talk to them and you're like, yeah, I did that, whatever, and you're like, okay, that's cool. You already know what all of these steps are. So make it count. This is the last action step. Do it now. See you, bro. Keep overloading.